because that was the circumstances they found themselves in, though, they created something that could only be created by those circumstances.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's the genius. You can't recreate that. You know what I mean? You can't do that on purpose. That's like a band trying their best being rushed, kind of. You know, at a young age, and they've just got so much conviction that, like, even though it's not super tight, you can hear how much they mean it, and that's what matters, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of why I love black metal, right? Is we sort of acknowledge, at least tacitly, that a lot of the best music and these recordings, they've already been made to an extent, because you can't emulate that just raw attitude. And it's really like attitude to me, and that desire to kind of break the mold and sort of do something that's extreme, that kind of creates meaning within meaninglessness of modern life.
Fucking really good way of putting it.
Yeah, and you know, I have the advantage of I've written about this ad nauseum for a long time. You got some stuff about Krieg on here, and I am kind of curious, like, how that relationship began. And did you play on that debut record, or was that
on the debut Krieg LP?
Yeah.
No. I didn't play out any Krieg recordings until 2003. I can't remember if we were recording in 2002 or 2003. It was during one of Andy's visits to Chicago. Neil was in town. We used the Forest of Impaled rehearsal facility. Tom, who called the day off, my drummer, also played on this recording. This is kind of how Neil rolled, man. Neil was kind of like me. He'd throw a band together and be like, who's in town? Like, let's get together, let's write some songs, like, capture this shit right now, and let's do it. There's something about that I love, you know? Like,
yeah, that's cool.
I have nothing bad to say about my experience in Krieg, especially in those days. I owe Neil a debt of gratitude for taking me into his room, because Neil was the big dog back then, man, you know? And him and Andy were, he was the guy that Andy fucking had played bass with. He was the scary. That meant something to a guy like me, you know, at the time. And he gave me the opportunity to be on that shit. He knew that, like, dude, back then, like, that stamp of approval, that's kind of like having like 100,000 fans or something like that nowadays. Or shit, you know what I mean? Or 1 million likes. Like, it's something that you can't just fucking make happen, you know?
Yeah.
And
okay, cool.
He knew that, which is why when Nachtmystium got big eventually, I always tried to fucking bring Neil along for the ride if I could. That's why Neil sang for Twilight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, I felt like, no, let's put him right up front, you know? Jeff understood that too. And Neil's a great vocalist. It's not like he didn't deserve to be there or some shit, but, like, you know, the label probably wouldn't have fucking had him be the fucking front man if it was up to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've never ever tried to pretend like my involvement in Krieg was anything but a good thing for Nachtmystium. I absolutely was honored to be a part of it. I like early Krieg stuff. Rise of the Imperial Hordes is like a difficult record to listen to, but like if you understood how little musicality Neil had at that time, and like the way he did it, he recorded all the guitars at a super pro studio with no click track and no drummer. He just went in there, he had these riffs and just recorded them and then gave them to the drummer of Bloodstorm, sent him back to the same studio and was like, yeah, just play whatever over him, man.
Wow.
And did it in like 2 days. It's insane sounding. Like, it's totally fucking wild. And then he does these insane vocals, and the fact that it's such a high budget recording makes it even weirder sounding, you know? And one thing Neil has always been good at is aesthetic. Like, he was 18.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Shit, man. Like, that album looks fucking cult, man. I mean, guys, Blu-ray art is kind of played out now, but that was 1998, man. You know?
Yeah.
That shit doesn't look gay, that's for sure, you know? And even though it's not great, but it's not fucking cheesy. It's not gothy. It's not, like, pretentious. It's honest, you know?
And you look at what a lot of these other, black metal bands in the U.S. were doing kind of around that time, a little bit earlier. Yeah. It's the same thing, and I dig it because it's kind of the beginning of that, like, tradition and that kind of standard going forward. And I do need to re-listen to that debut Krieg record now that you kind of put me on to some of the details about how it was recorded.
Dude, so the first like real release I did on Battle Command.
Yeah.
Well, I did two. The first was a tape. It was Krieg, Songs for Resistance. It was that recording session I was just describing at the Forest of Impaled room.
Yeah, that's crazy.
5 tracks. Most of those songs wound up on split 7 inches. One of them went on the Satanic War Master split with Krieg. One went on the split with Open Grave. One went on, fuck, I can't remember if it was Azazel or, what the fuck was it? I don't know, somebody else.
We'll get somebody to fact check all this later.
Yeah, but fucking, and then there was a tune or two that was just on that tape. And there was a Judas Iscariot cover on there of Babylon and then 4 original tracks.
Nice.
So I put that cassette out. I did 500 of those. That was BKR 001.
Cool.
And then about a year later, Neil told me, he's like, I have a second full length that I did with Krieg that I did just like I did Rise of the Imperial Hordes, but I never released it because he had rushed and he recorded The Church and Destruction Ritual, and for some reason he thought those were the records he should put out. So he had this album called Sono Lo Scherno, and I was like, dude, can I start Battle Command with that shit? Let me put 1,000 CDs out. And I helped him design the whole thing and got this cool, like, fucking artwork from some ancient book. It looks kind of like an old Judas release. Looks like Upgraded Turn.
Yeah.
And the record has the same charm that Rise of the Imperial Hordes does. It's a little more focused because he'd done it once before, you know? And It's just, there's nothing that sounds like it. You know what I mean? Like, and that fucking CD, man, I paid $1,200 to make 1,000 of those. I did not invest another penny of money I had to work for into Battle Command Records for 6 years. It built the distro, it built enough cash to press more shit, and shit just grew. And
I mean, and from what I know about that side of the business, that's impressive.
So like, Neil and I might have some issues, but I'm not going to fucking ever take that from him, that he did that. You know what I mean? I'd be a piece of shit to do that. So, and I'm trying not to be a piece of shit. So, thank you, Neil, for looking out for young brother. I worked hard for him too, though. You know, if I'd been him, I would have wanted me as the kid helping him out if I needed the help. You know, because I was there on time and enthusiastic and stoked to be doing it and looked the part and fucking brought, you know, energy that he didn't have to the situation. Like, I had the hustler thing going on. He's not as much of a hustler, so to speak. So, and I always tried to fucking, you know, keep a hand on him behind me as Nachtmystium suddenly surpassed him at one point, which just happened, you know? So that wasn't like a decision I made or some shit or wanting to spite me. It just happened. You know?
No, and that's the feeling that I get, right? Is there's this pretty rapid evolution where, like, that early period of the band I really see is like this weird kind of 2-piece where y'all are trying to, like, figure everything out and hash it together. And then it seems like it's pretty rapid evolution where you meet a lot of these guys and y'all are all collaborating together, you know, in one way or another, both on that kind of distro side and the music side. And then all of a sudden, you know, these really crazy records happen later. But
and I was working at a metal record shop in Chicago that Chris Black. I got Chris Black's job when he quit. So, and I met him. So, like, dude, there was, and that's where, you know, we all hung out. Cult of Death hung out there. Nachtmystium hung out. Like, that was the fucking capital of heavy metal Chicago. And thank you to Mark Weglars, owner of Metalhead, for giving me that job. If he hadn't given me that job, I'm certain Nachtmystium would not have become what it became entirely because of the networking I did there. You know, that's where I met, like, Usurper and Cyanide and fucking my heroes from home, you know, the bands that I looked up to growing up. It was an amazing opportunity, and I worked there from the time I was like 19 till I was 21. As soon as I was old enough to go to the bar, I moved on down to the bar, started doing metal night there, and working at the metal bar, you know. So, like, I just brought the fucking party from the record store to the bar, which worked as a great transition. That's how I got the job. I was like, I still work at the record store. I'll put flyers in every bag of metal CDs that people buy, saying, come to our metal night, you know. And the owner's like, fuck yeah. You know, got me a job, and that loaded me until I started doing heroin and blew my life up 10 years later, you know? It all goes back to these early days of this shit, you know? And it's really wild looking back on it, man. I was like, really, really lucky that these people like gave me the opportunities that they did, and I ran at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was never a job I wouldn't quit to do something like that.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Ever. Like, that was the difference between me and everybody else. I never, ever didn't do something because of a fucking job or rent or anything. Bills. What are they going to do? Throw me out? Fine. I'll find a couch. Like, that was my attitude.
Yeah.
And you know what? I never got thrown out.